It's bucketing rain in a nondescript estate somewhere in Barnet, North London. I'm hesitating, when a smiling man under a large umbrella approaches. "You're right on time," he says, pointing in the direction of an industrial lift. It's a relief when the lift doors open onto a bright white corridor. The other guests are already here, chatting and drinking champagne. We are split into several groups, with the first led into the next room, while the rest of us stay behind, laughing nervously about what lies ahead. The Culinary Rabbit Hole my group is called, and we begin our trip down the culinary rabbit hole. The evening starts with a short screening, followed by a few taste experiments in the study, before finally being shown to the 10-seat table beside the open kitchen, where the chefs have been busy. Perhaps it's apt we're in a former Victorian toothpaste factory. This evening promises to be a real treat for the palate. Our host for the evening is Yusuf, the Michelin-trained chef behind Gastrophysics Chef's Table, a multisensory dining experience. He founded Kitchen Theory in 2010, and the evening showcases some of the research he has undertaken over the years, along with experimental psychologist Professor Charles Spence, around how we perceive and enjoy flavor. Chef Yusuf, photographer Heloise Fourier. We all think of taste as something that's centered in the mouth, Yusuf says. It's almost like ventriloquism in that, because we're chewing and crunching and everything is going on in the mouth, we presume that's where flavor is produced. In fact, 90% of what we perceive as flavor is actually connected to our sense of smell, we're told. We test this out in the study, by tasting a jelly bean while wearing pegs on our noses. I can taste sugar, a certain sweetness, but little else. In the next experiment, I am pleased to discover that I am a super taster, as I can distinguish certain flavors. It may go some way to explaining why I was a picky eater as a young child, I am surprised to learn. Then there are other factors, physiological, psychological, emotional and even cultural, that affect how we experience food. For you, no apple crumble may match your grandmother's recipe, or you may never be able to replicate that tomato salad you ate at sunset in Capri. We all live in our own unique, personalized flavor and taste worlds, says Yusuf. This is based on everything from our age, our cravings, our sense of smell, even pH levels of your saliva will affect how you taste food physically, and then mentally there are all the rich cultural associations that we have. William Wonka, Willie Shakespeare. The evening takes us through some of these experiences. Yusuf may be a chef, but he is like an actor at times, Shakespearean and solemn, at times using Wonka-esque tricks to heighten certain senses. It's scientific, then trippy, with the guests reacting with delight as they notice different things. Despite our differences, there are incredible correlations with what we agree on with the multisensory perceptions of food, says Yusuf. We know that 70% of people will see white as being salty, red as being sweet, green as being sour, black as being bitter. We know that if you play, let's say, a high-pitched violin and a low cello, and ask people to match it with a white wine and a red wine, 99% of the time people will relate the white wine to the higher-pitched sound and the red wine to the deeper sound. A case in point is one of Yusuf's signature courses, Booba Kiki. These are made-up words whose purpose is to understand how we see words and sounds as being sharp or rounded. Kiki is sharp, Booba round. Studies around the world have shown this to be the case, ranging across different languages and tribes. Yusuf created 2 dishes to match each word, and leaves it up to his guests to decide which is which. Most will come up with the same conclusion, although Yusuf insists that there is no wrong answer after all, no 2 people have the same taste experience. Credit Rose Hardy. Yusuf believes that some of the research could be used to change our eating habits as a nation. We know that if we spray the smell of caramel or butterscotch in the air, people will find their whiskey sweeter, smoother, rounder and silkier. If we know we can make something taste sweeter, maybe that means that at school, what if we piped out the smell of, say, strawberry jam at dessert times, and served a dessert that has 10% less sugar in it? Would it still satiate them? Maybe. Color as seasoning. He could be onto something. Some of Professor Spence's research found that if you compare a red mousse on a white plate and a red mousse on a black plate, people found the mousse on the white plate 12% sweeter, seemingly because of the color contrast. A separate study, published in the journal Appetite in 2014, showed that a whiff of fresh fruit before ordering dessert can influence people to choose a healthier option. People also tend to eat less when food is served on smaller plates, Yusuf explains, and have a greater feeling of satiety when eating from a bowl held in the hand rather than from a plate. Food marketers should take note of their findings, or perhaps they already have. From pictures on Instagram to the notoriously using delectable MS ads, the visual aspect of food has always been a great selling point, but now manufacturers are tapping into other senses. I've come across alarm clocks that will wake you up with the smell of bacon or coffee, says Yusuf. I think many people are becoming increasingly interested in how to engage people beyond the visual, and engage them in a far more multisensory way. Eating while listening to ocean sounds or while handling certain objects sounds like the ultimate in gimmickry, but throughout the 13 courses presented to us, the food really does speak for itself. I exclaim over the beauty of an origami pasta dish, even more impressive that they managed to make my portion gluten-free, and maintain that an education in umami is the best thing I have ever eaten. Yusuf constantly uses the word delicious as he talks us through the courses, and his team certainly delivers. Enlightenment. What we're most interested in doing is not manipulation, not trickery, it's not shock or gimmicks, he says. Rather than shock and surprise, people feel enlightened. What we're interested in doing is simply taking great food and helping people to enjoy it using more of their senses. Yusuf says that you don't need a 13-course dining experience to truly experience your food. We are already doing it when we do something as simple as enjoying the crunch of an apple, which we know indicates that it is fresh and palatable. We don't get enough out of our food. We say we love food, but how many of us are taking a moment to be mindful about what we're actually eating? I am constantly asked by people, how can I have the multisensory dining experience at home? And the first answer is turn off the TV, put your phone on charge somewhere far away, cook with your family or your friends, and sit down and enjoy a meal. Smell, taste, touch the foods. Food is one of the most multisensory experiences that we partake in on a daily basis. Gastrophysics Chef's Table costs £160 for 13 courses and drinks pairings. Visit gastrophysics.co.uk for more information.